started. So I'm logged into BPC on the browser, business process flow. I go over to my activities. And I have Manex, CapEx, and PCP available. So I'm going to go down to PCP and select my budget BPF for PCP. What I'd like to do is I'd like to go into AddStaff. I've done permanent. I'd now like to add staff as temp. So I go ahead and select that link. And that link is going to pass me from my browser, which is Internet Explorer, and my BPF for BPC, my business process flow, and it's going to take me over to Microsoft Excel, and I'm going to begin my work in the EPM add-in. There we have it. First things first, I'm going to double click the cell to select my cost center. I'm going to go ahead and use my binoculars to search for cost center 0521, group forensic services, and again just to point out that we can toggle between ID, description, ID and description. This is important because when you're searching, if you don't have ID and description or ID, if I search numeric values, I wouldn't pick up 0521. So it's important that we get our ID and description right, or however you prefer to work. Hit OK. And because this is an input form, it refreshes automatically and derives the company code that we should be working in. So much the same for budgeting. For permanent staff, we have the exact same input for temp staff, just they'll appear as temp when we look at our headcount reports. I'm going to go ahead and select something to do with forensic, because I know that's what this cost center is about, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and select a position. So I'm going to keep this in numerical or chronological order, so I'm going to go ahead and select vacancy 1. This is my first budgeted temp staff. Now you'll notice when we work with opening balance adjustment, we can only correct the balance for permanent employees. That's done with intent and purpose, and that's because every budget cycle we replan new temporary staff, and that's for permanent contractors, as we can see over here in our BPF, as well as temp staff. So I'm going to go and select abandoned milestone. So I'm going to select B2M1. Hit OK. Ethnic origin. I'm going to go ahead and toggle to the right of my screen, select an employee group, and all that's available is temporary. I'm going to go ahead and select a personnel area. This would be an admin person. Again, to point out the difference between admin and a salesperson or commission earner is whether or not we're just looking for the head count, because their actual package value goes through separately as commission. Okay, and now the difference now is we put in a start month, so I'm going to go ahead and hit March. I'm going to hit the end period for August. I'm going to hit that with 35,000. Scroll to the right. Am I happy with that? 100% March to August, 35,000. Now I have an opportunity to put in a comment. So I'm going to say external labor broker as my comment for temp staff. I'm going to go ahead and capture somebody else, and we can go and do the entire sheet if we wanted to, or you can save one at a time. Depends on how you like to work. This is how I prefer to work. So I'm going to go and hit somebody else. I'm just going to select the first thing that's available. The position, so I want to work sort of chronologically and in numeric order, so I select vacancy 2, band and milestone. I'm going to go and select B4M2. Going to go ahead, select ethnicity. I'm going to go ahead and select gender. Going to go ahead and select sales, just to show you the difference. I'm going to go ahead and select group. So you'll notice that I got an extra validation on the bottom left to say please select a base member, and that's because I skipped a selection. Let's see how much battery power I have there. And we're back with stronger battery life. I'm going to select a start month, and I'm going to say May, and that could be all the way through to December for the budget period. Internal sales consultant, perhaps. Maybe even pop in something like office costs, or actually this is an example of somebody that's on Liberty's payroll. Okay, so let's take a look. If I say 5,000 for a monthly package value, okay, you see we've got our validations, and that's because this is a sales person. They shouldn't be having a package value. So if I go ahead and change that to admin, it makes a bit more sense. Okay, 100%. I'm going to put that in as 20,000, and I'm going to change this and say internal consultant. Perfect. Happy with that. Okay, I now have my validation to please save data, so I go ahead and hit save and refresh. I'm expecting to have a little pop-up, a confirmation. Yes, I want to submit my records to the database. I'm happy with that success. I can go ahead and close that. The job is done. I go back to my BPF. Okay, and say for instance I wanted to go and reverse staff. I could go do that. So this is in case I've made a mistake. So I've submitted 2 people. I might want to go and reverse one at this point. There we have it. I'm going to go ahead and double click to select my cost center. And because it's an input form, as soon as I've selected my cost center, it refreshes automatically, and we have our entity or company code derived. Okay, and then there we have it. So in this budget period for this cost center, I've got 1 permanent additional staff head, which I added in a previous demonstration. We've just seen 2 temps added, so I'm going to go ahead and reverse one of them, hit yes, go back. I've got please save data, so I go ahead and I hit the save button. A little confirmation pops up, I say yes. BPC is now submitting the data to the database. We have a successful message. It's excellent. Go ahead and close that. And I'm going to go back to my BPF on the browser. What I'd like to do is take a look at a report. For this same cost center, I like to use the 021 report, headcount and personnel report, just to be able to see and confirm how I stand for my budget period on this particular cost center. So I should have a permanent staff member added, as well as a temporary staff member added, and then I've also put in the commentary to say that that temporary staff member is an external party from a labor broker. Now that becomes important if I want to start doing analysis on the types of temporary staff that we capture to the system. I'm going to go ahead and select my cost center. Using the binoculars, I'm going to go and search. Here we go. Happy with that. And because this is a report, I need to go and select the entity that I have access to. That's LLAL. And then I'm going to go and hit the refresh button because this is a report. Okay, this is our cost center. We take a look and we scroll down to the bottom. What we have is we have 1 temp staff member that we added for only a few periods of the year. So we have headcount there, and then we also have the package value, and then we added a permanent staff member, and that came through with a basic salary as well as a medical aid. Okay, I'm very happy with how things are looking in this cost center for PCP, so I can go ahead and select the close button, go back to Internet Explorer, click that, browse back on my BPF, and that's where we started.